Hi, I'm Mike Gardina with GardinaLifeCoaching.com. And does it ever feel like sometimes that things just aren't going right? It's like, why are bad things always happening to me? Well, today we're going to try to talk about some of the reasons why that might happen and share an experience of mine. I know for me, when my day starts off wrong, it just seems to go further and further and further downhill until, I don't know, something good might happen to kind of make it feel a little bit better. But I want to share a story with you. I guess an experience that I went through that really got the best of me. And again, it started early in the day where I'm diligent about setting an alarm clock. And well, of course, even statistically speaking, we're going to mess up and we're either going to forget it or something goes wrong. But I know when I end up waking up, or my wife might wake up and say, "Mike, your alarm didn't go off," and then I look at the clock and see what time it is, and it's a panic. You're running late, and you're like, "How can I catch up?" Because I'm just running late. I gotta get going, get things moving, and then it just seems to all go downhill from there. Like just you jump in the shower and oh my God, I forgot the towel. The towel's over there, and you have to get out of the shower and walk across the floor, get your towel, and get wet, get the floor all wet, uh, and then you just I don't know. You go get your clothes you start getting dressed for clothes. You pull something out, and it's like, what the heck? I got a stain on this shirt, or it's all wrinkly. I don't have time for this type of thing. So you throw that, and you get a different shirt, or maybe you have to actually iron it. I don't know. Then you seem to try to leave to go out the door to get in the car, and you don't have your car keys. What did I do with the car keys? I always put them over here, but they're not there. Oh my gosh. And then you get in the car, and it's like, oh, I was running late coming home last night, and there's not much gas left in it. Do I have enough to actually get to work or not? So sometimes you got to stop and go get gas. And then you get to work, and there was a meeting that was supposed to start, and you're 15 minutes late for the meeting. And it's like, oh man, it just goes further and further downhill. And it's like, well, why? Why did all that stuff happen? Well, the reason all that stuff happened is basically I'm in a panic, and starting off with the alarm where I made a mistake, maybe I didn't make a mistake, maybe the power went out in some cases, but with today, with our cell phones that are usually backed up on a battery, that's usually not the case. It's usually a mistake that I made when that happens, at least in the recent past as it happened. Now, I used to actually have a redundant alarm years ago, especially when I would do a lot of traveling, to make sure that if the power went out and this went wrong, I still would get up early to make sure I made my flight. I don't do that anymore, but especially with a cell phone, because it is battery backed up, so that tends to not be the problem. It's always human error. So I started the chain of events by not setting either not setting it correctly, or I just forgot to set the alarm. But needless to say, it didn't go off. So then I started into a panic, right? And when you start rushing and you start moving around, you're not thinking clearly. So then what happens is, I forgot to get a towel. It's not the towel's fault. It's not there. It's my fault. I forgot to go get the towel. And when you just continue to rush and like, well, if I was smart enough to put soiled clothes in the wash instead of putting them up there when I go get that shirt and it has a stain on it, well, again, it's my fault. Why didn't I recognize that and put that in the wash? And when you're running late, of course, you don't have time to go iron a shirt. When your shirt's wrinkled, well, maybe I should have ironed it the night before to be prepared for that event. Should something happen like that, and that way I'm better suited to have more time to deal with things. So what happens to all of us is when things do tend to go wrong in our life, is we have a tendency of blaming. Someone took my keys. Who took my keys? Well, The odds are it was me. I just put them in a different spot that I don't normally put them. It's my fault, not somebody else's fault. Same thing with gas in the car. I'm the one who made a decision to not fill up with gas on the night before, even though I knew I needed it. I figured out I'll just do it tomorrow. Procrastinated it. Well, I paid the price for it. Again, it's my decision to do that. And when we look back on stuff that happens to us in our life, you'll find that most of the time we can trace it back to some decision that we made that created that situation, that created the problem, if you will. So if you would, in the comments below, please leave a situation where you felt things were just not going right in your life, and maybe who you thought was to blame for that. Because that's what we tend to do is we blame other things. We blame, like I could blame my wife for not setting the alarm properly, or not having a towel within reaching distance of the shower, or in other areas of our life when we explode on somebody and we say something that we're not supposed to. Well, you made me say that, or that we're under pressure and we make a poor decision, or when we're driving, we're running late, we're driving recklessly down the road and we get into an accident. Well, even though somebody else may have done something wrong, we put ourselves in a position to have that problem. So if you really do think back and you look at really things that go wrong in our life, you can most often go back and trace them to some decision that we made, that instigated that chain of events, or we did recognize something that was coming at us. We just put the blinders on and didn't pay attention. That's not to say that things don't happen to us that are outside of our control, because that does happen. We all face problems and things, and life slaps us in the face, but we just, but we can't always think that, well, it's always somebody else's fault. A lot of the times, most of the time, it is our fault. It can be traced back to some decisions that we made. But yes, there are situations when it's not our fault. Things did happen to us. It's very unfortunate. Those do happen, but they're just not that common. When you look at the overall scheme of our life, yes, there terrible events do happen to people. You could be just driving down the road and somebody smack and T-bone you in a car, and you could be paralyzed. And I understand, yes, that is not your fault. But that's not that common compared to all the other little things that we tend to blame in life that is somebody else's fault or whatever, that we had nothing to do with it. So what are the takeaways from this? I know I say this a lot, but it's really one component is being self-aware, knowing what's going on around us, so that we can be cognizant of bad events as they're coming at us, to be prepared for them, so that we can react and deal with them in a certain way, and just not put blinders on and just think life is just going to be rosy. But be self-aware of what you're doing and saying, so don't put yourself in positions where some bad things can happen to you. And really being prepared, we don't take the time a lot of times to prepare ourselves for things that could go wrong. I know my wife has kind of been talking about putting things in the trunk of the car to be prepared in case something goes wrong or we get stranded somewhere. And she's right. If we're stuck somewhere and we don't have the resource to get quick attention, we need something to help us. And that would be a good decision to help make us prepared for things. And one of the last things I'd say as a takeaway is always looking at what's important. Obviously, we make lots of decisions throughout the course of the day, and some not so important, but we tend to not focus on important decisions. We tend to focus on really trivial decisions of where to put this or where to get that, but really looking at really important decisions about making sure your car is fully gassed, or making sure that you got yourself prepared for your next day, so you don't go into a meeting that's going to slap you in the face. Or if you're going to go on a trip, is to have things all prepared, laid out. Just don't do it on a whim, to chance. Basically, is not leaving your life to chance, and to focus on the small little decisions that lead you down that path. Well, thanks for watching. Again, I'm Mike Gardina with GardinaLifeCoaching.com. And if this episode touched you in any way, please hit the subscribe button, the like button, and please hit the subscribe button as well, so that you don't miss any future episodes. And let me know something that didn't go quite right for you. Thanks.